That's why I'm giving you, that's not even an exhaustive list. I'm giving you choices so that you can find what you can find. And
But I was reading some book in Spanish from the Waldensians.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I want you to find what's available. I've given you a start. If you find other things, I'm happy.
But the author says these people, Baldur, he tried to live like the Bible times.
Yes.
But this is impossible. Today we can.
You have just hit one of the interesting things about this movement.
Just for you no shoes, they say they are living like the apostles. It's not true.
They listened to that text that says
they were walking two people.
Yeah,
that is not exactly living like the disciples.
And there are a lot of assumptions they make in the Waldensian era that we would look at and go, how did they do that? I used to say this about another group. I used to say that the Hussites took 50 to 100 years to work things through about where Luther worked them through. The Waldensians took longer. And the Waldensians are central to Hussite history as well, because they heavily influenced the ancient Unitas Frothrum in 1457. And yeah, there's the Waldensians. Some people talk about the Waldensians and say they're proto-Protestants, like first Protestants, early. Others look at them and say, you know, really they are a Catholic movement. And I think both are true in different ways. They are a Catholic movement, but they also laid a foundation or were a part of the laying of a foundation that said the Bishop of Rome doesn't have all the answers.
But before Reformation, everybody was Catholic.
Yes.
Mark, that's very good. You should translate what he was saying.
Okay.
For the people that doesn't speak English, shame on you.
What?
Estaban hablando, el doctor estaba hablando de los Waldensians, del Baldur, Pedro Baldur,
Pedro Valdés.
Pedro Baldur.
y la pre-reforma. Y él dice que es un movimiento católico, pero pone bases para los cambios que vienen de la reforma, porque ellos dicen que el Papa no es el fin, el punto final de toda la conversación. Hay más que lo que dice el Papa. Él no es la autoridad final sobre la tierra. I just translated what he said.
Okay. But yes, you're going to find that they're not like the reformers of the 16th century.
No son igual que, no tienen la fuerza ni el entendimiento de los reformadores del siglo XVI.
Here it is. I need like the top one there back. I have some things for you. Think about what you're saying while I give these to you.
Vayan mirando
Well,
de
the top one I think is front and back, right?
Yes.
Okay. This one is like 4 sheets. Okay, this one's going to be 2. So take one and pass them down. You'll need to take both sheets. This is what I sent you in the email. I know you have it, but I printed it for you in case someone did not have it. And that way we can talk about that before you go home if you have any questions.
Para que hagan preguntas si tienen sobre ello. Let me help you distribute.
Yeah.
Is this
Stay,
ready to go?
that one's mine.
Oh, that's yours.
That's the master that came off of this. And I'm just going through this one here. And let me see. Is that 2-sided or 1-sided?
One side.
Oh, that one's the original.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll get it back.
one side.
Here they are. And they need that. There's 2 sheets for each one. Okay, there's two sheets for each one. This is the original. Yes. And here, my friends, you just go back and look at the back, and it'll say, when it gets to page
Entonces,
41, I think it is, 40 or
lo
41.
puedes dividir en dos, estos, así es sencillo, pero de la misma manera, dividir en dos.
A lo mejor recarga aquí también, ¿no?
Yes.
Esa es tu página.
Well, yeah, 42.
Okay.
Yeah, when you get to page 42 on the back side
Cuando
here,
lleguen a la
te costó
página
tu
42,
pass it down.
No, 12.
Look on the back, when it says 42, that's your notes. That covers some of the things we talked about last week, and it also covers what
hablamos de
talks
esto la
about.
semana pasada
It also talks about this week.
y de esta semana también.
And I'm not going to be giving you as much information like that in the future. I'm doing that because I know you weren't going to be able to find books and everything real fast.
Enrique.
Let me talk briefly about this. Are there because I think you're getting that fastest. This is the course objectives, expectations.
Aquí están los
so forth.
objetivos y las reglas de esta materia.
This bibliography, I tried to say, pick something from here in
Escojan de
the
aquí.
required readings, and if you want to read something else, talk with me, and I'll say fine, probably. Like one of you asked about a history of the Reformation, and I've listed like further on in here that there's about 100 pages in that book that you mentioned that would be useful.
Si tienen otro interés, me pueden pedir.
There's also suggested readings and helpful
Hay
readings.
recomendaciones y algunos de menos interés.
You don't have to buy any of this.
No hay que comprarlo.
If you can borrow it, good.
Si puedes encontrar el libro en una biblioteca, perfecto.
If you can get it free online, like Wiley has some of his material available free
Jay
online.
Wiley has some, right?
Yes, so if you can get that.
J. Wiley tiene algo en el internet.
Ya, todo está ahí.
No todo, pero sí un
Sí,
buen-
todos los tomos. Nosotros vamos a estar leyendo el
No.
tomo 5.
No, pero Wiley tiene 20 libros.
Ok. Pero de historia del protestantismo.
La historia de la
El protestantismo ahí está muy accesible, lo puedes leer ahí mismo,
If you want to
en
read.
inglés.
en inglés.
Yes.
Eso debe ser traducido al español, ¿eh?
So I'm giving you choices. I basically want you to self-direct your reading.
Le estoy dando opciones, ustedes escojan.
And I want you as much to read a little bit about what we'll talk about in class,
Sobre lo que hablamos en la clase,
but I want you to focus your reading on what you're going to write your papers on
pero más que nada sobre lo que van a escribir su escrito
and
Su tarea.
on your oral presentations.
y su presentación oral.
Now, there's 2 papers
2 papeles
and 2 oral
y
presentations.
dos presentaciones orales.
Just 2 papers?
Just 2. But you also have, I want a list of what you've been reading and just a response. I want a response to what you've been reading.
Quiero que respondan
Those are
a lo
short.
que están leyendo. Eso
So
es
like, give me a
corto.
1 or 2 page response. I've
Una
read
página.
this, it says this, I like or dislike this, and why.
Yeah.
Dice esto, me gusta, no me gusta.
So that should be straightforward.
Eso no es problemático.
It's not for every month.
Yeah, go ahead and bring them up regularly if you want.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, because I'm going to build a file for each of you, and we'll just put them
Yo
in the
tengo una
file.
carpeta para cada uno de ustedes y ahí va a estar acumulando para su
Los
calificación
reportes de lectura.
las lecturas. Mientras la dan es un 10.
I
Si no la dan,
I do not want you to come to the end of the course and feel like you have to do everything then. I
no
want-
quiero que esperen hasta el último día para hacer todo.
Ya.
Sound good?
2000 hojas.
No,
1200.
1200.
1200 a
If
2000.
you
Pero no te
want
vas a pasar de
to do
2000.
your oral
Y te vas a
reports
quedar de
on
más de
something
1200.
different than your written reports, you may.
Puedes hacer tu reporte oral diferente a tu reporte escrito, pero ¿para qué? Mejor el mismo, ¿no?
I'm thinking you might find something interesting to you that you just want to talk about.
Es que tal vez encuentren un pasaje que les interese y quieran platicar de ello.
And that encourages you to do a little extra reading on that if you want to.
Y entonces pueden investigar más un asunto que les interese.
Now we'll need your papers, one for each of the people in the class, and an outline of your oral report.
Y vamos a necesitar, uno de los papeles tiene que estar escrito para distribuir a los demás estudiantes y un bosquejo de su informe oral.
That way, we all learn a lot more than if I sit here and talk.
Así aprendemos todos en comunidad. ¿Okay? Aprendemos que brutos somos los demás.
Sí.
We find out how donkey all of us are.
Well, all of us tend, it gives you a range of how much you want to put into it. You get out of it what you put into it.
Tienes parámetros para hacer lo que quieres.
Tengo una pregunta, doctor.
I should not tell you this.
I have a question.
Yes.
Still,
Yes.
we are reading every month,
Estamos leyendo cada mes.
and we make a report
Of
every
what you've
month.
been- Yes. Yes. Tell me what
How
you've been
many
reading.
reports we need to do?
As many different things as you read.
Lo que leas, dale un informe.
If you read a 3-page article, I want to report on the 3-page article.
Si lees 3 páginas para ese
Aquí
mes,
no-
If you
Es el
read,
problema con el que
Yes.
hacían en history.
if you
¿no?
read 1,000 pages
si lees como
in a
debes
book that's
1000,
this big, I want to report on that.
entonces leas
A
uno,
small report.
And I want the reports to be about a page or two.
no importa si lees 1000 o 3, el informe va a ser del mismo tamaño.
I want to
Resumido.
see in the report a little bit about it, something that interested you,
¿Qué te
and
interesó?
why you liked or disliked
¿Y
it.
por qué te gustó o no
Yeah.
te gustó?
Yeah, but it's like I'm saying to you before. The Waldensians. I'm not exactly thinking they are living like Bible times.
Yes, that was their goal. Back to the Bible.
But, yeah, but the author say they are living in this way.
Then you're going to observe that and write about that.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to say. And when you
And
write,
then I like it
exactly.
that number 18, the Waldensians,
Waldensians.
as a spawn of Catholic.
That's a topic if you want to write on it.
Yeah.
That's an idea
Son
topic.
temas, si
You can
quieres.
write on anything different than I've got. I just gave you an idea.
Could I have,
Me gusta el número
Oh, yes.
18 de la
Yes.
lista de
I can
temas,
follow you. Sounds interesting. This one here?
como
Yes.
una respuesta a la herejía
That's what he's talking
por
about.
herencia.
Yes. Number
Catherine,
18.
¿qué es Catherine?
I just said these are
Creo que
ideas. You
tiene
could
que ver
write the
con católico.
Waldensians as a Catholic movement, the Waldensians as pre-Protestants, and tell me why and where they failed and where they succeeded. That would be fine.
Me encantaría, dice que escribe sobre los waldenses.
Thank you.
Yes, these are just ideas. You can pick any
Very
of
good
them.
idea.
It's to give you a sense of the range. that
¿Están
you have.
viendo, hermano, usted tiene los 18
Temas
tópicos
sugeridos.
que él recomienda?
Last time we taught this class, we had a person in the class who talked about monastic musical reforms.
Tuvimos a alguien que habló de los movimientos de música monástica.
It was interesting.
Interesante. Yeah, would be.
This is a lot of different topics. We often make a
Los cantos
mistake.
gregorianos.
Hacemos el error
Well, we think nothing happened from 1000 until the Reformation, or maybe
que no
since
sucedió
Chalcedon
nada
in the Reformation.
desde Calcedonio hasta la Reforma.
A
La
lot
Edad Media.
happened.
Sí, pero mucho sucedió.
So this is just a way for you to find an area you want to dig into.
Esto es para animarlos a entrarle a esos tiempos y estudiar algo de ellos.
From about 1000 to the Reformation.
Especialmente desde el año 1000 hasta la Reforma, 500 años.
Thomas de Aquino was in the
Sí, en ese tiempo.
1000.
It's the prelude. What was going on before the Reformation? What was setting
¿Qué
the
estaba
stage?
sucediendo pre-Reforma?
Yeah.
When I called this last week a dissonant age,
Un año de disonancia.
I was going through all sorts of different things very fast so that you would see, oh, a lot was going on.
Para que ustedes vean que esa era de disonancia era una era donde mucho estaba ocurriendo.
En la Edad Media.
And that's what that's about.
Eso es lo que vamos a ver.
That's most of this.
aquí en estos 18 puntos.
Now, do you have any more questions? That's good questions.
Muy
by the
buena
way,
pregunta, gracias. por la pregunta.
About the syllabus.
¿Hay otro sobre el sílabo?
Because I sent it in the mail, but I knew you wouldn't have it with you. I thought it'd be at home. Now I did this just to give you a sense of the history, more than, and it's what I talked about last week. That's
Yeah.
pages
Is it
1
for the
to
last
30.
week?
This is last month.
El que es del
1 to
yeah.
30.
mes pasado.
1 to 30.
Additional phrase?
1 to 30. That is dissonance age.
Additional phrase.
That was what we talked about last month, and this is more information, and it might give you more ideas.
Más ideas sobre lo que habíamos platicado, de la disonancia de ese tiempo.
But this is what I was summarizing. Now, today,
Hoy, ahora,
we go to page 31,
vamos a la página 31. Miren todos
the Waldensians.
los valdenses.
Los Valencias.
The early Protestant reformers, they were looking back in church history for people that agreed with them.
Ellos, estos tres reformadores, miraron hacia atrás a la historia de la iglesia para encontrar allí gente la cual pudieran ser sus modelos.
Many of them quoted heavily from the church fathers.
Muchos buscaban entre los padres de la iglesia.
We can almost say that for Lutherans, after the Nicene Creed, that was the sum of what happened until the Reformation, but it's not really true.
Para los luteros, desde el concilio nicenio hasta la reforma, dieron un brinco.
They recognized there were people in the Middle Ages they agreed with and disagreed with.
Sabían que había gente durante ese periodo con la cual estaban de acuerdo, más o menos,
Many of these were in the established church.
algunos dentro de la iglesia.
If you read Calvin's Institutes, you'll find he quotes from a lot of people.
Los
In church
institutos de Calvino, él era un pedagogo que estudió mucho y tenía muchas citas de muchas personas.
However,
Sin embargo,
they and people who followed them were also looking for movements they thought were more like themselves.
ellos también, los calvinistas, buscaban en el pasado gentes que reflejaran sus valores.
One of those movements is the Waldensian movement.
Uno que encontraron eran los valdenses.
The Waldensian movement went through many changes.
El movimiento de los valdenses había muchos cambios entre ese movimiento.
It starts out very Catholic,
Comienza muy
similar,
católico,
similar to some of the mendicant orders or even the preaching orders like the
los
Franciscans.
mendigos,
No,
mendigos,
órdenes mendicantes.
las órdenes mendicantes.
Como los
Mendicantes.
So they were sympathetic to groups like the Waldensians, but they recognized there were differences also.
Estas órdenes de eso,
Mendigas.
mendicantes,
Mendigantes.
ellos reconocían algo los valdenses como ellos, pero también sabían que eran diferentes.
The Reformation transformed the Waldensian movement.
La reforma los transformó.
They had a strong commitment to the Bible, and as they listened, especially I think to Farrell, they adopted many of the emphases of the Swiss Reformation.
Como ellos admiraban las escrituras y lo utilizaban, ellos cuando escuchaban los reformadores predicar les tocaba el corazón.
Okay, this is the earliest medieval reform movement that we often consider sort of Protestant.
Este es el primer movimiento que se comienza a distinguir como reformado.
Luther felt their focus was too much on morals and not enough on doctrine.
Lutero pensaba que se adherían demasiado a moralidad y no suficiente a la doctrina.
Some people like to call them medieval evangelicals.
Algunos los llaman evangélicos medievales,
Others see them as very Roman Catholic.
otros sí dicen, no, nada más eran católicos.
And I think both are true in their own way.
Hasta cierto punto depende, se puede entender los dos.
In the Synoptic Gospels, Page 32.
Los evangelios sinópticos, página
Page
32,
32 here on our notes.
en sus notas,
The parable of the rich young ruler.
la parábola del rico joven.
What must I do to be saved?
¿Qué debo hacer para ser salvo?
What was the answer?
¿Cuál fue la respuesta? A ver, les pregunto.
The same to Pedro Baldo.
Keep all the commandments, right?
Yeah.
Keep them all. The man says, oh, I've done it.
Guarda
And
todos los
Jesus,
mandamientos. Y él dice, yo lo he hecho.
and Jesus says, oh, one thing you lack.
Te falta uno.
Sell all you have and then come follow me.
Vende todo.
Well, that's why they started out the way they did.
Por eso comenzaron así.
Valdez, or Waldo as he's sometimes called, Valdez apparently had the Bible translated from Latin into the dialect that he used, and as he was reading the Gospels in particular, they came to that text, and he said, well, I have to sell everything. So he did.
Entonces,
After making proper preparation for his wife and daughters.
¿puedes traducirlo?
Valdés pagó para que se hiciera una traducción del Nuevo Testamento del latín a las lenguas que él tenía, y una vez leyendo Mateo encontró que había ahí lo que él necesitaba para eso, y se lo comunicó a su esposa y a sus hijas.
And then he went out to preach.
Y vio que todo mundo necesitaba predicar.
This is similar to the Franciscans and the Dominicans in many ways.
Y era semejante a los franciscanos y a los dominicanos de muchas maneras.
The popes did not accept this lay preaching,
Excepto que no se dejaba que se predicaran los laicos.
and the Catholics made fun of them.
Y los católicos no estaban de acuerdo con eso.
And I think some of the failures of the Vatican in how they treated the Waldensians led to why they later accepted the Franciscans and Dominicans. They didn't want to make the same mistakes.
El error que cometió el Vaticano en ver cómo iba a aceptar a los valdeses, no lo cometió cuando aceptó años después la postura de los franciscanos y de los dominicos.
Okay, let's think. They were committed to the Bible, especially the Gospels.
Ellos estaban comprometidos con la Biblia y especialmente con los evangelios.
They believed in apostolic poverty
Ellos creían en la pobreza apostólica
and itinerant preaching.
y en la predicación efectiva.
Okay. These three are the start. More things came over time.
Estas son las tres cosas con las que empezaron, pero pasaron muchas cosas adelante del tiempo.
At this time, they are very Catholic in their emphasis.
Al principio eran muy católicos en su énfasis.
Okay, if you move over to 34.
Y nos movemos a la página
Page 34.
34.
Some of the priests and even some of the bishops
Algunos de los sacerdotes y algunos de los obispos
found that Waldensian preaching was helpful to counteract the heresy of the Cathar or the Albigenses.
La iglesia encontró que la predicación de los valdeses resultó muy efectiva para contrarrestar la heresía de los cátaros y de los albigenses.
So they turned a blind eye to them because they were helpful.
Y querían como que no verlos porque estaban ayudando.
So they saw them as schismatic, but not always heretical.
Los veían como algo que estorbaba, pero no los veían como algo herético.
But they were uneducated and ignorant.
Eran unos ignorantes educados.
That was the perception.
Era solo la percepción.
The reality is they began to memorize huge chunks of the Bible.
La realidad es que ellos empezaron a memorizar muchas cosas de la Biblia,
Especially the Gospels.
especialmente los evangelios,
And that was at the center of their preaching for centuries.
y eso fue el centro de su predicación por muchos siglos.
An older uncle or visiting preacher would go with a younger one. They would pair an older man and a younger man, and they would make these trips, and they would.
Siempre se juntaba un hombre grande con un hombre joven e iban juntos predicando para que de esa manera aprendieran.
Now, the Bible they used was the Latin Vulgate.
La Biblia que ellos usaban era la Vulgata Latina.
Their translation was a translation of the Vulgate.
Y era una traducción de la Vulgata.
The church at this time was making it difficult to own the Bible.
En este tiempo la iglesia hacía muy difícil que la gente pudiera poseer una Biblia.
That was one of the wedges that were dividing them from the church.
Era una de las barreras que dividía a la gente de la iglesia, el poseer la Biblia.
Eventually, their commitment to the Bible led to further differences with the existing church.
Eventualmente, esta posesión de la Biblia de los valdeses empezó a crear dificultades con la iglesia institucional.
They tended to be Bible literalists.
Ellos tendieron a ser bíblicos literales.
That's why they went back to those events in the Gospels, like early church.
Yeah.
Yes.
Y por eso ellos querían regresar a la cuestión de los evangelios como era la iglesia primitiva.
Many of them developed, these visiting Waldensian preachers developed trades in medicine, in books, and in fabrics and other.
Muchas personas visitaban a los valdenses porque podían obtener medicinas, libros y muchas otras cosas de ellos.
They tended to have a Donatist emphasis.
Pero tenían un énfasis donatista.
Because of their emphasis on morals.
Porque tenían un énfasis muy grande en la moral.
If the priest was immoral, was the sacrament good?
Si el predicador es moralmente bueno, entonces los sacramentos que ejerce son buenos.
So this kept separating them further from the church.
Y eso los separaba muy grandemente de la iglesia.
Their focuses were on contrition and faith.
Su enfoque era la contrición y la fe.
Okay. The preachers were sometimes called barbs or barbes, meaning uncles, but basically they were itinerant preachers.
Básicamente se les llamaba tíos o barbs, no sé la traducción será bárbaros a lo mejor.
Persecution limited.
Bears.
Bears?
B-A-R-B-E-S.
B-A-R-B-S, barbs.
Yes, barbs.
Lo que corta.
Like uncle. They called them uncles or barbs.
Viene de barbas.
Okay.
Los barbados. Sí.
Los ancianos.
Los ancianos.
Sí, como aquí.
But because they came under persecution, open air preaching became difficult.
Como empezaron a sentir la persecución, los empezaron a perseguir, su predicación se empezó a hacer más difícil.
So they tended to go to families they knew.
Entonces empezaron a ir a predicar a familias que ellos
And
conocían
communities where they were known.
y comunidades que ellos conocían.
So their outreach shrank.
Entonces su influencia empezó a contraerse.
Became an ingrown group.
Entonces se convirtieron en un grupo muy compacto.
They had a lot of intermarriage in those groups.
Ellos se casaban entre esos grupos.
So you can see what that does to a group. It begins to narrow them down to an ethnic enclave in certain regions, especially as they were driven out of other regions.
Entonces se empezaron a convertir en una sociedad étnica que tenía influencia solamente en pequeños lugares.
Let me give you their training.
Déjenme darles un entrenamiento.
Basically an oral culture.
Especialmente en la cultura oral.
For 3 winters, they were taught how to read and write.
Por 3 inviernos tenían que leer y escribir.
They were expected to memorize all of Matthew and John.
Y lo que se esperaba de este entrenamiento era que aprendieran el Evangelio de Mateo y de Juan.
Portions of the epistles of Paul.
Porciones de las epístolas de Pablo.
Peter, James, and Jude.
Pedro, Santiago y Judas.
And they would read some of the early church fathers,
Y tenían que leer algo acerca de los padres de la iglesia.
such as the shepherd of Hermas
El pastor de Hermas.
El pastor Bermas, ¿sí?
and the apostolic fathers.
Y los padres apostólicos.
Okay, occasionally they read a little in Augustine, Jerome, Ambrose, and Gregory.
Algunas veces leían algo de Agustín, de Jerónimo y
Ambrose, and
Ambrosio
Gregory the Great.
y
Ambrose,
Gregorio el Grande.
yeah. That's kind of interesting, but I'll go see anything. Okay, they wrote commentaries on the Lord's Prayer and Creed.
Tenían comentarios acerca de la Cena del Señor y de los credos.
Now that's very medieval,
Eso era algo muy medieval
and you see it in the Reformation era too, both in Luther's writings and in
y
Calvin's.
también lo pueden ver durante la época de la Reforma en los escritos de Lutero y en los escritos de Calvino.
So it was part of the era they
He has a question.
Yes.
Los valdenses consideraban a los padres de la iglesia dentro del canon bíblico o era
The Waldensians were considered the father church inside the canon of the Bible. No.
I don't think they ever defined the canon as well because they didn't have as much of it. They weren't literate.
Que no podían saberlo porque ellos no tenían.
No tenían educación.
It was mostly memorized. And
Todo,
everything that
todo
was
lo
written.
tenían en la memoria y
era
escribían.
literal también. Era
Literal,
literales.
sí.
But it's like a winter school.
Yes.
Three winters.
3 winters.
Durante
And then
3
they would
inviernos.
they would travel in the summers.
Ya.
Oye, pero entonces también era
Durante los 3 inviernos ellos se encerraban y tenían que aprender a leer. Y entonces
Pero
aprendían
aprenderse
y a
de
leer,
memoria,
a escribir y
Mateo,
leían.
con razón se
Y
casaban entre
aprendían de
ellos,
memoria
encerrados.
la Biblia y aparte leían los escritos de los padres apostólicos como Agustín, el pastor de Hermas, todo eso en 3 inviernos.
Oye, pero
Like a
entonces
seminary.
They traveled in pairs, so the older trains the younger.
Y viajaban en parejas donde el más viejo enseñaba
Entregaba
al más joven.
Okay.
And to keep them away from the women.
Y,
They were supposed to police each other. That sounds awful, but it's true.
What?
y se cuidaban uno al otro.
¿Se sabe algo
ok.
sobre su metodología de aprendizaje?
Because
We know-
if they got married, they had to quit traveling.
Porque si estaban casados, tenían que hacer el viaje muy rápido.
Stay home and raise a family, take care.
Tenían que regresar a casa para cuidar a los hijos y ver que crecieron. Eli asked if we know something about the methodology of their study.
To teach.
Memorization heavily and interaction.
Principalmente la
The older,
memorización
and they did have some handwritten books that they would take with them when they traveled.
y que tenían algunos libros que ellos llevaban cuando viajaban, pero básicamente la memorización y la interacción entre el mayor y el menor.
The younger uncle, the younger one, would be responsible to do more memory work as he traveled.
El más joven tenía una responsabilidad más grande de estar memorizando durante los viajes.
And they would also give him opportunities to talk about what he was memorizing with groups, with the older ones supervising.
Y entonces tenía la oportunidad de demostrar lo que había memorizado cuando llegaba y hablaba en diferentes grupos.
It's kind of interesting.
Padre, ¿no?
Those books they carried, though, were one of the marks that if they were found, oh, these might be heretics. You understand?
Ajá. Que esos libros, que cuando los tenían y podían leerlos, podían ver si lo que tenían enfrente era una herejía o no.
Okay. The people in the Waldensian communities
La gente en las comunidades valdesianas
did not have to practice poverty, celibacy, and obedience.
no tenían la obligación de practicar
Poverty,
la pobreza,
celibacy.
el celibato,
But the barbs did.
pero los ancianos sí,
The preachers did.
los predicadores también. La comunidad no, pero los
Líderes.
líderes sí.
They encouraged They encouraged, how shall I put it? Simplicity in life.
Ellos hacían un énfasis muy grande en vivir la vida de manera simple y sencilla.
For what they use the name uncles?
Because, oh, this is my uncle. They're traveling.
Just for the beard?
Well, no, it's because if you're the uncle, oh, yes.
The uncle is the old man or
Yeah,
the
the
young
older
man?
one usually, but the young one.
Or for
gets
different.
The other
tired. They were
one,
kids. They were
nephew.
trying to say, "Why are we
Uncle
traveling?
and training.
I'm your kin." You see, that's one way you could hide why these strangers were visiting. Oh, he's my uncle.
My uncle, yeah. Oh yeah, it's more easier to.
Sí.
Yeah.
Dice que usualmente entre ellos se llamaban tíos para que cuando llegaban a
Porque
un
está bien
lugar y lo presentaban, no, pues es mi tío.
¿Por qué está viajando
Como
con
tú tienes primo,
So the goal
sí.
was
Así.
they would preach, they would hear confession, and give absolution.
Tenían tres objetivos principales. Era el predicar, el dar la absolución
La confesión.
y la confesión.
And they were to live celibate, or they had to quit traveling.
Tenían que permanecer célibes y si no permanecían célibes, tenían que dejar de viajar. O sea, te casabas, se acababa el ministerio.
¿Por qué te casabas, Juan?
Mándale.
They
Igualito que ahora.
the people that they worked with attended the local Catholic churches.
Y la gente iba a las iglesias católicas de ese tiempo. Pues no había otras.
But they were encouraged to go as little as required.
Pero también se les animaba a que fueran lo menos posible.
Entonces no te
They believed in 7 sacraments.
Para aquel entonces había 7 sacramentos.
They believed in transubstantiation.
Y creían en la transustanciación,
They believed in free will,
creían en la libre albedrío,
pacifism,
en el pacifismo,
opposed the death penalty,
en la pena de los apóstoles
and refused to take oaths.
y rechazaban el tomar
Juramento, ¿no?
juramentos.
Votos.
That was
Votos,
subversive.
votos.
That was subversive in feudal society, where your relationships were bound by oaths with your lords.
Y tenían un problema para relacionarse con sus señores. O sea, vivían en comunidad, había un señor feudal y empezaron a tener problemas para relacionarse con ellos.
They did not believe in purgatory.
No creían en el purgatorio,
No vigils.
no...
Vigils. Vigil.
What is vigils?
Well, they stay up all night to pray for this. Maybe holding candles all night for someone.
Como vigías.
Vigías,
Vigílias.
no vigías.
Vigils, okay.
Vigilia, ¿no?
Good.
Vigils.
They did not believe in the cult of Mary or the cult of the saints. They couldn't
No
find that in the
creían en el
Bible.
culto a María ni en el culto a los santos.
They wanted the clergy to repent and live simple.
Ellos querían que los clérigos se arrepintieran y que vivieran de manera sencilla.
They liked some priests and disliked others because of those Donatist tendencies.
Ellos confiaban en algunos sacerdotes, pero en otros no. Sobre todo desconfiaban de los que tenían tendencia donatista.
They were sometimes accused of witchcraft and sorcery.
Y alguna vez fueron acusados de brujos y de adivinadores.
As they came into contact with the Lutheran and the Swiss Reformations,
Pero cuando estuvieron en contacto con los luteranos y con la Reforma Suiza,
their strong emphasis upon the Bible
ellos empezaron a hacer un énfasis muy fuerte en la Biblia
allowed them to move into Reformation Christian circles.
y empezaron a moverse dentro de los círculos cristianos reformados.
That's basically what that's.
Y eso es básicamente lo que eran los Waldensians.
But they had trouble with the princes and the kings.
They had problems
But
because of their-
for cause of the church said to the king, get out.
they were driven out of places. And other times they just kind of lived underground and they had these traveling barbs.
But the
Los echaron de
people,
muchos lugares y
Bravo.
que siempre vivían a escondidas.
they know what, but maybe 18,000 people.
There were a lot of people in certain communities because communities
In
grow.
a few times, like Muslim, los Muslim, in only 10 years, Muslims, in only 10 years, they are a
They
big
grew.
group.
Yeah, the best book that I have found, that I put it in here, on the Waldensians, Gabriel Albizio, The Waldensian Descent, Persecution and Survival. It's on my syllabus. And
Audicio Gabriel.
yeah, 1170 to 1570. It's by Cambridge. Cambridge prints that in their medieval textbooks line.
Yeah.
That's really an excellent book on the Waldensians, if that's an area that interests you. And sometimes you can find that in some online libraries too. I have a hardback, not hardback, paperback copy, but I've seen it on some libraries services. But that's really the best single textbook I have seen in English. And that's a translation out of French.
Where does I was reading at the end about holy water?
The book?
No, I mean of the
Holy water.
Where does it come from? The idea of the holy water. I mean, from a Bible story
What
or
page are we on?
the last page. In the very last page. 41. Oh yeah.
Number 5.
The Waldensians believe in you talk about 7 sacraments, transubstantiation.
Yeah, they held all those because they were clinging to much of the medieval church.
Okay.
They were very medieval, but they were moving away in a way because of their strong Bible literalism.
But
That was creating a tension for them. That's why you've got all this
That's
tension, and then the Reformation comes, and it was easy for them to make the swing.
Okay.
but
But I mean specifically of believing in the holy water. Where does the Bible background or
I don't think it's there. Just
Oh,
like
okay.
Purgatory is not there.
okay yeah.
But they said, well, we reject this, we reject this, we reject this. But there were things they never got to.
Yeah.
It's what I always say, there's an incomplete side to the Reformation in these pre-Reformation movements.
Okay.
this is a test.
Oh, no, that is, I wrote this for 2 groups before.
No,
No, let me tell
look
you,
at that.
that's not a test. That is that's just for your study.
Yes.
Okay.
That's,
But
you don't
you
have-
said
never turn
before.
them in. Don't turn them in or anything. Those are just for your use.
Oh
And if you
yeah,
don't
I got
want-
it.
and
It's
if
an
you don't
exam.
want
It's
to
not
do
a.
that, don't do
It's
that.
confused, but he say the Waldensians believe in donation of Constantine, but we read here
No, that's a
they
question.
reject it.
Oh, it's a question. I thought it was like an outline or.
You would say
Aquí
that
dice, mira,
Yeah.
multiple choice
Choice
questions.
you'd have to
Oh, okay.
read.
Oh, okay, sorry,
carefully.
yeah.
Pero sí estoy correcto.
Pensé que era parte de la,
de la lección.
de la
de la
lección.
clase.
I've
Sí.
taught this for
Pues,
2 groups of people
Yeah.
before. One was a group like yourself, and one was a younger group that was more college age, junior
Okay.
college. And I created these questions for them to help them study.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, they believe in, do they
Yeah.
believe in 7 sacraments?
Yes.
Pretty much. Transubstantiation?
Yes, they do.
Holy water?
No.
Well, no. Donation of Constantine?
No.
That kind of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's, those